Aloha, I'm Teresa Graham. I'm a licensed professional counselor specializing in somatic psychotherapy, working with trauma and anxiety. Today we're going to be talking about tapping. It's an emotional freedom technique, and it's basically a blend of ancient Asian healing that's been around for 4,000 to 5,000 years or so. You might be familiar with it with the energy work involving acupuncture. We're not going to be doing acupuncture using needles. We're going to be using acupressure points with the same concepts that has been around for thousands of years. We're just not using needles, but we are using the same acupressure points. And the behavioral science, there's about 100 good studies out there that show that EFT tapping can be an important part of healing from trauma and trauma responses. So this is why I use it with many of my clients, because many of my clients find it helpful. Not everyone does, but many do. And again, listening to our bodies, sometimes this can be helpful and sometimes we might not notice anything. And that was certainly true for me when I first was trained and started with the tapping. So with EFT, couple things to keep in mind. It's energy work. Remember that when we have a strong trauma response or a strong emotional response or a high anxiety, we automatically, without even thinking about it, tense up our entire bodies, or at least a portion of our body that might prefer for one reason or another, that gets tensed up. No conscious thought about it, it just happens. And because it's not consciously we're not consciously doing it, we can end up walking around for long periods of time with a lot of tension in our body, maybe for days, weeks, months, years. And with that physical tension also lies the underlying emotion that started the tension in the first place. And with those two going on for a long time, being stored, pent up in our body, very tense, we also get balled up energy. So releasing the tension helps us to release the emotion that we haven't processed in maybe a very, very long time. And the energy work helps us to release that energy that's been stored up in there. And all of these things can cause pain, inflammation, as well as even more emotional challenges for us. So we're going to keep it very, very simple. We're going to follow the standard protocol working in this area with our acupressure points. Lots of, you may have heard of chakras and meridians and acupressure points in these areas. I'm not going to talk about that so much. We're just going to go ahead and jump in and do it. There's a lot of different ways that you can do tapping. We're going to start with a setup statement, which is, first of all, even though I feel would be what we're feeling in the moment, something that we're feeling really challenged with in the moment, such as even though I feel this anxiety right now, or even though I have this pain in my arm, or even though I have this fear, whatever it is, it's something that is occurring in the moment with you. And then the positive statement afterwards would be an affirmation, such as, even though I have this anxiety, I am well. Even though I have this anxiety, I'm going to be okay. I am okay. Even though I have this pain, it's only temporary. Whatever it is, whatever is meaningful for you. The standard one is, even though I have this anxiety, I completely love and accept myself. Now, for trauma survivors like myself, that can be a big bite, and that can be very triggering in itself. Just, I completely love and accept myself. So we'll work up to that. For now, we're just going to keep it as mild as we can and as simple as we can. So a few things to keep in mind. Some of the risks, there's some benefits, we've talked about it, some of the risks. So anytime we're doing somatic work, body work, there can be a release, and you want to be ready for that. We want to make sure and keep you within your window of tolerance. So at any time you're feeling overwhelmed, just stop and just breathe. Maybe go into child pose. just to put your head below your heart, get your heart rate down, do some breathing. If you feel that this is too much for you, if you're having too much of a release, you have the choice not to go there and allow that emotional release. Sometimes it can feel intense, and if you feel that coming on and you're not ready for that, then by all means, stop what we're doing and breathe and do what you need to take care of yourself. It's your choice whether you want to allow that emotional release or not. Your body is the boss. And another thing to keep in mind, if you're tapping anywhere and you're sore, that's an indication, unless it's a medical issue or an injury you've recently had, that's an indication that if you continue to tap there, you're probably going to have an emotional release. And unless you're ready for that, you may want to stop. If you're ready for that and you want that emotional release, it can be intense for a few moments, but with any emotional release, it can be intense. And then as we breathe through it and bring ourselves back into our window of tolerance, then it passes, usually within minutes, and we tend to feel better after that, kind of like a good cry. It doesn't always feel good while we're crying, but we feel a lot better afterwards. We have a release and some healing. So somatic work is kind of like that. So basic places that we're going to tap, the basic sequence will be right above your brow or at your brow, inner. So it would be above brow, inner. And the tapping with the study shows rapid, firm tapping with as many fingers as possible because you get more acupressure points that way. However, if you're feeling too activated like that and your body wants you to slow down, by all means, listen to your body and slow that down. That's perfectly fine. Your body has a lot of wisdom, and we want to learn how to listen to that. So this is the first. And then we're going to tap outer brow. So it's right at your eyebrow on the bone, outer. And the next part in that sequence, you can use one hand or two, is under the eye, outer, right on that bone, under the eye. Rapid and firm if you like. And then I like to also do under the eye, inner. So outer and inner for both. And then under the nose, right in the middle there, under the mouth, right in that cleft, rapid and firm. Under the collarbone, find your collarbone, under the collarbone. Under the arm. Under the other arm. Top of the head. That's the traditional sequence. There's also karate chop, which is just really easy to do and easy to remember. Heart spot, which is basically where your heart is, and butterfly. So we're going to start with a setup mantra. Even though I have this anxiety, I am well. And you just tap along with me and repeat after me, and I'm going to invite Roger to come along, and he's going to do your part. So I'll do my part, he'll do your part, and just so you have an idea. So if you can face the camera and sit next to me. Thank you. So we're going to go ahead and start with top of the brow, inner. Even though I have this anxiety.
Even though I have this anxiety.
And then outer brow. I am well.
I am well.
Under the eye, outer. Even though I have this anxiety.
Even though I have this anxiety.
Under the eye, inner. I am well.
I am well.
Under the nose. Even though I have this anxiety.
Even though I have this anxiety.
Under the mouth. I am well.
I am well.
Under the collarbone. Even though I have this anxiety.
Even though I have this anxiety.
I am well.
I am well.
Under the arm. Even though I have this anxiety.
Even though I have this anxiety.
Under the other arm. I am well.
I am well.
Top of the head. Even though I have this anxiety,
Even though I have this anxiety,
I am well.
I am well.
That's the traditional sequence. We're going to go ahead and continue with the karate chop. Even though I have this anxiety,
Even though I have this anxiety,
I am well.
I am well.
Other side, karate chop. Even though I have this anxiety, I am well.
Even though I have this anxiety, I am well.
Heart spot. Even though I have this anxiety, I am well.
Even though I have this anxiety, I am well.
Butterfly. Even though I have this anxiety, I am well.
Even though I have this anxiety, I am well.
Even though I have this anxiety, I am well.
Even though I have this anxiety, I am well.
I am well.
I am well.
Deep breath in. Deep breath out. And what do you notice? No right or wrong answer. What do you notice?
I feel more relaxed.
Feel more relaxed?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Roger. So I just invite you to notice what you notice. It could be anything. There's no right or wrong. It could be maybe you feel more anxious. Then don't tap for a while. Try it at another time, maybe next week, and see how your body responds. If you feel calmer, great. Then keep doing this as a resource. Because we want to release that energy. That's what we're doing. We're releasing that pent-up energy. And we never know how our body is going to respond to this or any other somatic work. So just listen to the wisdom of your own body and practice as you like. And that's it for the basics of tapping. There's so much more, but that's it for today. May you be well, and may loving kindness be with you always.